To all of us, model railroads are some of the most fun things that we partake in. But what's the appeal, and how do you explain it to someone who doesn't understand how awesome model trains are? Today we're talking about the appeal of model trains on Coffee and Trains. Welcome everybody to another edition of Coffee and Trains. Before we begin, I fired up my Nespresso machine and I made me a cup of Nespresso Audacio, and as always I take it black with 2 sugars. Very, very good cup of coffee right there. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the appeal of model trains. It's something that we all know, but a lot of times we can't quite put our finger on it, and it's really hard to describe to people who aren't into model railroading and model trains why we love it so much. And I've really gotten a lot of insight on this from my wife, who, while she has very little interest in model railroading, she does support me having this hobby and being able to have a little bit of an escape and a place that's just somewhere that I can relax. And she's been extremely supportive of letting me have a space to be able to do that, and all sorts of other things involved. So I really want to talk about the appeal so that you can talk to people who don't understand the appeal and kind of explain it in a way that they will understand. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm breaking this down into 3 main areas. The first one I want to talk about is something that you've heard me say a lot in the past about the overall what's great about model railroading, and that is it is a hobby that encompasses so much. So I'm sitting in a corner of my workspace, and from here I can see model trains that I have running. I can see some carpentry that I've built in, as in the foundation of my newest layout. I can see some circuitry. I can see my 3D printers. This hobby encompasses so much, and that's just a fraction of what it does. We're also talking about paint, dioramas, all that kind of stuff. It encompasses so much. So when you get into model railroading, a lot of times you start off by just wanting to run trains, but you learn so many different things. Like, I probably would have never gotten into 3D printing as seriously as I am if it wasn't for model railroading, and that has really opened up a lot of the hobby to me. So that's one thing that's happened. Also, I would have probably never gotten into Arduinos as seriously as I did, being someone who's doesn't have a coding background or anything with engineering. I never would have gotten into Arduinos like that. So model railroading is kind of, I guess you can call it a gateway hobby into so many other hobbies. So it's a big hobby, but it has so many other little facets and aspects to it that you can do, and you can just dive into these little bitty nuances and just lose yourself in it. And that's the great thing, is that it's really more than one hobby. It's a classification for a bunch of hobbies, and it's a place for a bunch of hobbies to collect and work towards a common theme. So that's really probably one of the big appeals, is there's so much you can do with it. My number 2 is something that my wife actually specifically said, and it made a lot of sense when she said it, and that is model railroading is a big creative outlet for those of us who participate in it. Now, I am a video producer full-time. That's what I do when I finish these videos, which I shoot them early in the morning, and then I go either into the office or I go upstairs if I'm working remote. I will do all my creative work there, but I really have one hyper focus of one type of creativity that I'm doing there, and it's a lot of fun. It's my calling, and I absolutely love it. But the bottom line is that there are a lot of other things that I like to do, and videography is not going to give me the creative outlet to exercise those things. And model railroading is my place where I can exercise my desire to do carpentry, for example, where I can do all sorts of painting, all sorts of things, like all these different things that you kind of mix into this hobby. It goes back to what I was talking about, where there's a lot of hobbies involved, which means that it gives you a lot of chances for a creative outlet. And I know that that's very true for a lot of people. A lot of times in our daily lives, our day-to-day jobs and that kind of stuff don't give us the opportunity to really express ourselves creatively. And with how expansive model railroading is, not just in the trains themselves, but in everything that's entailed in it. It really is a massive creative outlet where you can just throw yourself at it and you can lose yourself in the creativity of building and running a model railroad. So creativity and being a creative outlet is my number 2 reason for the appeal of model railroading. My number 3 one has a part of it that when people outside the hobby say it's kind of one of those things where we'll get up in arms about it. But model railroading has something magical about it. There's something magical about miniatures. There's something magical about running model trains. I can't really put my exact finger on it. The closest I can say is that there is something magical about being able to create something in miniature and be able to watch it come alive through movement, in this case, model trains, and being able to create something that does this. And that's part of the mass appeal of not just model trains, but miniatures in general and building models. And we have to acknowledge the fact that these are purely things that are for fun and joy. And by that definition, model trains could be considered toys. I consider them toys in the same way that I would consider something like a jet ski a toy. I wouldn't consider it in the same way that the toys in my kids' playroom are toys. There's a difference between model trains and toy trains, but model trains are toys. Now, they are toys that are designed to mimic real life, whereas toy trains can literally be anything that remotely resembles a train. But these are my toys, and I really love playing with them and sharing them with other people. It's why I do this. And to share that magic and to share that joy is something really fun, but just to experience the magic of miniatures and dioramas and model making and all that kind of stuff. There's a magical aspect to it that's something that you really can't name or put your finger on, but that magic is part of the appeal of model railroading. All right, guys, let's talk about some of the coffees that you guys are drinking. John Overman is drinking Krispy Kreme's Classic Medium Roast K-Cup. Little fun fact, Krispy Kreme is from my home state. I live in North Carolina, and I have been to the original Krispy Kreme many, many times, so I do love me some Krispy Kreme coffee. Tim Wright says, any type of coffee added to my Bailey's Irish Cream. That does sound good. Sparky107, how you doing, Sparky? He says that he sticks with Maxwell House just because the pods are fully compostable, and that is a big thing with these pods because they do create a lot of waste. NS5107, aka Chazco, a long-time subscriber, drinks Folgers 100% Colombian, straight up black. They make it like that. He says that, as always, he is drinking Tim Hortons, and he is a Canadian, so that is a true Canadian tradition right there. If you haven't checked out his channel right there, you can go ahead and check it out. Really great for weathering. Check it out in the description below. So thank you guys so much for watching. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. They're listed right here. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month. Lots of behind the scenes stuff, lots of different things that you can check out. I like to drop hints of what's coming up in the future there before anyone else hears it. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And until next time, I'm Jimmy from the DIY and Digital. Stay safe, be kind, drink some coffee, and happy railroading.